for many people, this idea of AI invading our life is very strange and sometimes worrying, and people are afraid. And I just want to try to demystify this idea and show that there is nothing to be afraid of, but there are lots of very exciting new things going on, I think, in this domain. So basically, you know that artificial intelligence and machine learning in particular are basically invading our lives. We could say they are eating up the world. So everything now is AI and in all domains. And in particular in all the domains where, which we call well-defined in science, that is where you know exactly what is a problem. You can define the problem, you can give examples and counterexamples, you can give evaluation functions that are very well described. And in all these cases, AI basically is getting as good and sometimes better than humans. Like, for instance, to drive a car is a well-defined problem because you have to minimize the number of people you kill, right? So it's very, very simple function. To recognize faces in a picture is very well defined. You are right or wrong, that's it. You know, there is no discussion really most of the time. A tumor also in the brain, or to play chess or Go or anything where the cost function is well defined. So for this we are dead basically. We have to invent new games. But even in the domains which are not well defined, like the artistic domains, where you want to create a story, like we just heard, how to create an interesting story, an interesting comics. You want to draw a nice picture, you want to make an interesting or nice or compelling song. All these domains are not well defined because we don't know how to define what is a good song or what is a good story, right? Or a good book or a good interview. I mean, we have an idea more or less, but we are not able to explicit this function. And maybe we will never be, hopefully. But even in this domain area, then AI is also going there, eating up this domain as well. And last year, 2 years ago, there were lots of very impressive, spectacular results in those domains. Like, for instance, there was a movie trailer made automatically, almost automatically by AI, you know, the trailer for a horror movie called Morgan by the Fox. And so you know that making a trailer for a movie is a very, very difficult process. And so most of it was done by AI. There was a Spotlight, a new movie whose script, whose story was generated by AI and then shot, and then you can see it on the web and see by yourself. There was an interesting thing with the Rembrandt painting generated by AI. So it does not exist. It's not a real one, but it's a kind of pastiche. It has all the characteristics of Rembrandt, and we could discuss whether this is creative or not. Many people say it's not creative. It's a pastiche, but come on. Even doing a pastiche of that quality is really hard, is really interesting, let's say. So we're not saying that AI is replacing painters, but the technology now is able to do a very impressive stuff, let's say, at least. So now to come back to music, and in general machine learning, what's going on basically is always the same story. That is, you give examples of a domain to a machine learning algorithm, there are many of them, like a neural network, but there are many others. And this algorithm is going to try to find patterns, similarities, stuff which are common to all these examples, and is going to build a model with these things, let's say a statistical model to be simple, or for instance, many times this event occurs at the same time that this other event, or that kind of relations between the elements of your domain. And the AI is very good at doing that now. It's actually even better than humans, probably. But then once you have a domain, once you have a model like this on the top, then you can sample, you can generate new items from that domain. And these new items, by definition, have the same statistical properties than the examples that you have given in the first place. So it's a way to create new stuff by generalizing a set of existing stuff and then re-instantiating, right? And it's a process that's very old. It's called sampling. Creation is, technically is very old, right? But nowadays, what's new for a few years, that there are new kinds of algorithms which are very good at basically separating what we could call the texture from the structure. And this is very new. It's only a couple of years ago, really. And so to explain this, I give an example. So on the left, on the left you have a leopard skin, right? And so you could say this is a texture. You know, you're not interested in the details, but just the texture. And on the right you have a rhino, and you are interested in the structure of the rhino, not the texture, right? And so what you can do now automatically is to separate the texture and the structure. And Aristotle already had this idea that beings are made of matter and form. It's called helomorphism. It's a very old idea. But now what's happened, we can do it for concretely with machines. And so if you can separate structure and texture, you can reassociate them with the same algorithms. So for instance, you can take a leopard skin, a rhino structure, and create something new, right? And if you see that you have an audience, people are interested, and you can create another one, and you call it a style, right? And then you go into another domain. Is this style interesting or not? Is it good? I don't know. I have no idea, but it's a social problem. But technically, again, what's important is that we can separate structure and texture. And so this gives rise to a lot of very new algorithms for creation. And I want to just give you examples in the case of music, right? So now I take the case of music, and I take this song. Do you know this? Or who does not know this song? Sorry, it's always the same joke. But you are okay. But sometimes I have all the young people, they don't know the Beatles anymore. So I'm very, very depressed because of that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Michel, this song, but not the audio that you have heard, just the score. You know, the score with the notes, the chord names. And I'm going to try to do a style transfer from other audio sources. So I'm going to take this song by Stevie Wonder. Do you know this? Well, it's an intro. If you have to be a bit older even, it's the introduction of a song called "Love is in Need of Love Today." And if you are, a music lover, you can be interested in exactly what is this thing, but you can also be interested from far away by the texture, the kind of the sound texture that you get, independently of the harmony and the details. So you want to take this texture and map it to Michel, right? To the song Michel, to the structure of Michel, the texture of this song to structure. And you may want to do it also with this thing. So this is a voice now singing. So Michael Bublé singing everything. It's a song, it's one song. And you say, okay, I don't care about what he's actually saying. I just care about the sound, the texture of that thing, and you want to apply it to Michel just for the fun of it. So now you can do this in one click, and you get this. Right, so you can recognize, I guess, the melody of Michel. The harmony is exactly the same, but the sound texture are the ones that are here. So you have done style transfer. So is it creative? I don't know. We can discuss. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it's a basic operation that is very often there when people create new things. They mix different things together, right? And then they decide. So if I'm a musician, I can say click, click, and I listen and say, well, yeah, it's nice, but it's not good enough. I'm not going to publish this. I'm going to try another one, right? So then it comes back to the problem of curation and being an actual artist to decide. But still, technically, you can do this in one click. So another example, A Girl from Ipanema, which is a Brazilian song. You can use a Marvin Gaye's voice texture and Frank Ocean, younger people know, and you get this. So you can recognize the intonation of Marvin Gaye's voice, and so again, you can do this in one click. This is what I want to say. So there is no effort anymore to do that. It does not mean that creation is only about that, right? Just to avoid any problem when I go out of this room. Okay, you can do many things like this. This is what I did for the ERC, the Parliament. So this is Ode to Joy. It's the anthem of the Europe by Beethoven, but in a Brazilian guitar style. Right? Okay. How much time do you have?
You have 3 minutes. Sorry.
Okay, so I will skip Bach because people don't like Bach usually, and I will talk just a bit about how we created a new Beatles song. Because what I've shown there was orchestration. You have a song, you do a cover basically. Try to do a new version of an existing song, Michel, for instance. But so what I wanted to do is to create a new song in that style, right? Because I am a Beatles fan, So, and we did this, and the song is called Daddy's Car. The way we did it, we put 45 Beatles songs like Michel, including Michel, but many others like Hey Jude, and others. And we created a score for a song that's called Daddy's Car. So it's on the web. You can go ahead. I'll just play a few seconds of this. So you have all the harmonies and stuff. I will not play it. Go there and you can decide where it's good or not, right? But so what I want to show is what AI did really. So I will play a few seconds later. This was the introduction. So in the beginning, in the middle of the song, you get this. Right? It's in the B part. So what's there? What's interesting is that now I play it again, but I transpose it down. Okay, it's the same thing, so that you can. So this is what generated by AI. So why I show this is that now I play back the intro of Michel. So if you are a guitarist, you know how to play this by heart. It's F minor major 7, F minor minor 7. So you hear this note that goes down, right? It's in the intro of Michel. And in fact, it's exactly what the AI has done, is to pick up this bit, this harmonic progression, which is very short, and insert it right in that part of the song. And so I will play now both together. On the left and right, you can hear the bit of Michel and the bit of Daddy's Car. I hope you can hear. You cannot because you have mono. This is a problem with this audio. You have to fix, Vittorio. You have to have stereo. That's all right. So again, anyway, intro of Michel, right, in the training set, and what the system has done. You have exactly the same harmonic progression, right? So I could play it both together, you would hear exactly, it fits perfectly. So what AI has done, and I will stop, is not to invent this kind of pattern, is to detect this kind of pattern, the Michel descent, for instance, and create a new context where it makes sense. And the whole thing is new. I mean, the whole song is new. There is no plagiarism, max order that you heard about just before. It's all new. But it's a novel instantiation of a pattern, right, in a new context. And this is what the AI is very good at doing, actually, now. And so, just to conclude now, we used to have in the music domain and in all artistic domain, basically you have original stuff and then people copying, So in music you do cover, which is legal, and then you can do plagiarism, which is not legal, but it's a kind of copy, right? And now with AI, what you have is just a new category of things which are inspired from, which are really different, which are not plagiarism. I mean, you can actually prove that there is no plagiarism in there. So they are new to some extent. They are at the fringe, at the border, the frontiers of a given training set. And this is very new. This is very interesting. It does not mean that artists are going to die. Please don't start this discussion. It's just a new generation of tools where artists are going to be able to try new ideas very easily and explore, let's say, the frontier of whatever they are able to do themselves. So we have talked a lot about the adjacent possible in that sense. You go somewhere and then suddenly what is not very far from where you are opens up. In psychology, there is this notion of a zone of proximal development by Vygotsky, which is a bit similar. So the creativity is basically on the fringe, at the fringe of what you already know. It's not inside, it's not very far, just at that fringe. So AI is able basically to let you explore that zone. Stop.
Okay, thank you, Francois Pachet. It's very interesting. I think it's very interesting. It's just a little bit scary.
No.
È anche un po' preoccupante the fact that a machine, AI, can go so much in deep in a typical feature of human brain creativity. So è anche un po', diciamo, fa pensare, mette un po' paura il fatto che una macchina possa entrare così in profondità in un processo tipicamente umano qual è la creatività. You never feel a little bit frightened when...
No.
Lui non pensa.
No, but I mean, sorry, I repeat the example I gave yesterday, when in the 84 and then 86 the first digital samplers arrived on the market. You know, people were very much afraid. They say, okay, now you press a key on the keyboard, you have an orchestral sound, you have a piano sound that's perfect, a guitar sound, so you don't need all these guys are going to die and all that. And so nothing of this sort happened. You know, the music actually exploded with the introduction of these new instruments. So I just see a kind of a new generation of tools. That's it. And the number of musicians is increasing. What's very interesting is that the music industry, you know, has problems, suffers in the sense of buying albums and stuff. It's complicated. But if you look at the business of guitars, you know, it's going like this. So there are more and more people, actually it's actually a problem because there is not enough wood in Brazil to produce all the guitars. There are really strong problems, and the same for all instruments. So the business or the market of playing music is really increasing. So there are more and more musicians, more and more people who want to learn music and all that. So I don't know, I'm not worried.
But this is a tool already available for musicians, or there are musicians that are using this tool of AI?
Yeah, we use it with a selected musician. We are going to release an album very soon, in a few weeks, with a lot of different musicians, some of them quite well known, just to show that what you can do. And the tools are not open, but in Spotify, probably this is what we are going to do, is to provide users with those tools so that they can use them.